Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to part 16 of Yakuza Kiwami. God damn, the whole situation with part 15 is just utterly ridiculous. Thanks a lot, Neil. But nonetheless, we're back on track. And now, it is time for us to continue beating up more punks in the street. No, we haven't found the punk that's named Sega. Although, this is after I went through all the trouble of going back through the entirety of chapters 1 through 4 just to catch up to this point and record part 15 because of basically YouTube and their stupidity. They were there and erased part 15, which was already uploaded by the way. And they're cracking down on violent video game footage, which is stupid. Real stupid. Because they tend to pick and choose who can actually play those games. Nonetheless, I'm going to go over to Smile Burger. And there's a reason why I go to Smile Burger. Remember I said that Majima will appear just about everywhere the higher you go in ranking. Well, as of the time of this recording, I managed to make it, well, as of part 5, part 15, which I had to redo, by the way. I ended up making it to D rank. Well, surprise! Majima's waiting for me. And Majima is pretty much out for blood. Right inside of a Smile Burger too. But I am going to say this. You might want to use chapter 4 and chapter 5 to try to find the Mezuking cards. And more importantly, try to find pocket circuit fighting parts because Goro will appear in Mezuking and pocket circuit fighting once you get a higher rank, and it's going to become. If you don't have the right cards, you gotta beat it twice. I mean, the first time, the second time, not so much. And after pocket circuit fighting, you need the right equipment just to beat him. Moreover, I kinda need more experience for it. And the only reason why I'm showing off these fights, by the way, these fights are all necessary, but they will give you a lot of experience points. This is basically how you're going to get strong in the entirety of the game. Doing sub-stories and doing Majima everywhere right before you get to the next chapter. Well, basically make chapter 4 through 6 of 3. Yeah, we'll actually make chapter 8 a breeze. Yeah, I'm not gonna say that because it's an interlude between Majima everywhere. And after chapter 8, once you reach a certain level, you're gonna have to wait until you're in the game in order for you to get all of the Majima everywhere. Like around chapter 10 or 11. That way, every Majima everywhere that you did not get, you will have a chance to get. Once you reach a certain level with Majima in chapter 8, which I think it's rank A, these will stop coming. These will stop coming at rank C once you deal with them in chapter 4. And by the way, every time you see an enemy Kiwami charge, make sure that you have some reaction ready to unleash a full Kiwami round. it's always going to be that thing that they keep repeating. Because that's the one thing about this game that makes it a little bit tougher. Because people will notice that health will always recharge. I think it's only this game that it does that. This is the only game it does that. Because every other game, there is like the RPG where enemies will catch the gem on themselves, but this is the only game where people can just charge up and regenerate their health. The only one. I know 5 doesn't do that, 4 doesn't do that, 3 does not do that. All those games actually forces you to use actual cutscenes or quick time events to finish off the enemy. Meanwhile, I did Batsaki in part 15 and showed that off in part 15. Unfortunately, that got deleted. So I had to go through all the trouble of actually finding out all the sub-stories that I've completed up to part 15. And then, after that, I had to go from the beginning all the way up to this point. I have to tell you, it was a pain in the ass. By the way, I got the Saki Deck guy, but I'm gonna have to go get the jacket later. Because right now, this Clefchin dude is challenging me to a fight. Now, for those who don't know who this is Kano. And Kano in the first game, here's the thing, in the very first game, you can lock yourself out of sub-stories. That's the reason why they redid Yakuza and Yakuza 2, because Yakuza and Yakuza 2, the sub-stories actually do have consequences and they can lock you out of them. This is one of them. Just not taking on Kano would mean that Kano would just go somewhere else and after you beat him up, he's done in the very first game. Here, he'll pester you to join you whether you choose to let him join you or not. So you might as well answer. So yeah, what he's trying to do is bust up a protection ring, or at least start a protection ring in the Champion District. Little as you know, one's already existed. And that's the reason why he's trying to find some new stuff since he's new to town. He's trying to find some ventures in the Yakuza world to actually go through to help Kiryu, since Kiryu whooped his ass. And he's basically Kiryu's disciple. But let's be honest, Kano will get you into more trouble. Because, the first mission, he's, again, trying to establish a protection ring, which is unfortunately already established by the Shimano family. The, second mission for Kano, he's going to try to hook up with a mob boss only to be caught, hook up with a woman only to be caught by a mob boss. A mob boss's wife, sorry, that's what I'm trying to say. He would be caught by a mob boss's wife, and the mob boss is going to go there and charge him money. It's the oldest scam in the book. And if you didn't make it in time, that's the other thing. If you didn't make it in time, bad things happen to Kano. Like, for instance, if you didn't make it in time to meet up with Kano, Kano would actually be killed by a Shimano family member, and that would lock you out of the last 3 cutscenes. And in the second one, a Yakuza would kill Kano for flirting with him and his wife because he didn't have any idea what kind of game he got himself in. And then there's the fourth one, where you had to try to chase Godspeed Yoko, which, if you didn't catch Godspeed Yoko would literally flee town and there would be no way to catch him. And in the final one, Kano would wind up being dead by the Tojo family. So, yeah. At least Yakuza Kiwami will give you a chance to actually complete some side stories. Yakuza is far too unforgiving for that. They actually do have real consequences. They're far worse than 2. So that said, we're facing off against this Shimano thug here, who, by the way, is in charge of putting a protection racket over Shellac. And by beating this, you would get gold champagne. And by the way, you could sell gold champagne, but gold champagne would actually be very potent for an alcohol. Yeah, it's a very potent drink. It basically will get you drunk, and if you got the skill that will allow you to get stronger while you're drunk, Kiryu will have something on standby to get him stronger to beat up enemies. And it'll come to the point where once you get a skill that will allow you to gain life after you drink alcohol, getting like alcohol on the go, yeah, it'll not only heal you, it'll make you stronger. Although in Yakuza Like a Dragon, getting drunk is kind of a bad thing. So on that note, we'll worry about that game when we get there. Meanwhile, we got ourselves a coat. Oh, right. By the way, this bum would have frozen to death if you did not get him a coat in the original game. So at least you have a chance to wait until you get the actual coat from the guy earlier on in the actual quest line. Yeah. We got ourselves some glasses, and believe it or not, it would go to the salaryman that's right next to the strip club. I thought that salaryman was actually triggering Majima. No, the salaryman is actually looking for some glasses so he can enjoy the strip club. And speaking of, this is the strip club, Club Asia. Yeah, you have to come here for... You don't necessarily have to, but if you want completion points for entertaining yourself, you have to come here. Yeah, you could do things like play video games, which, by the way, you actually do have completion points for whatever game you play. You can actually play poker, play Mezuki, do the crane game. You can just repeatedly come to many places and you'll entertain yourself CP points for that. Well, I hope that none of my future parts get cut because of Neo Mahan, but if they do, or if they get age restricted, make sure that you, by all means, turn off restricted mode in your options. For anybody that is over the age of 18. Under the age, I don't know why you're watching. I mean, it is not for anyone under 18. So with that said, at least we got our fill with the stripper. So let's go over to the guy that's right next to Asia. But before we do, we end up in a fight. So with that said, we just got finished beating up a couple of punks on the way here. Might as well just give this guy the glasses. And since we have glasses from the bum, you will end up getting super adhesive tape. Now, believe it or not, there is a use for that super adhesive tape. There's a guy holding a sign that needs tape to fix his sign. You find that guy and you give him the super adhesive tape. I'll probably do that later on. And now I'll finish the side quest. But whatever the case, ladies and gentlemen, we are going on to the next one, which is us being, well, recruited for a male strip club. Yeah. It is legitimately for a male strip club, which Kiryu is just, he's just looking like, what kind of weird shit did I get myself into? Well, unfortunately for Kiryu, you gotta do this. So, he basically was going to recruit us to a male strip club for girls. It's not like a male strip club for men, no. It's just for women or middle-aged women, where Kiryu would be making a lot of money a night. But there's a situation behind this aggressive recruiting, and moreover, we have to pay a 10,000 yen fee. So if you have 10,000 yen, you'll be fine, but don't come to this sub-story without 10,000 yen. You're not going to be able to complete it. But there's a good reason why you should. Because you have the potential of getting a stamina spark, which is good. And it all depends on how well you do in the interview. So, allow him to tell you more about the whole interview process. Meaning, yeah, you're going to have to pay $10,000 up front. But again, there is some issues behind having to cough up 10,000 yen, which you will get back, by the way. And there is issues behind the whole aggressive recruitment, and that is, this business is on the verge of going under, which is all the more reason why he's so desperate in trying to scout you. So, with that said, Sasazuka is basically the guy that's going to be your point of contact. And this is the interviewer. His name is Tachibana. Now the reason why his name is highlighted is because that's going to come up later. And speaking of Tachibana, rest in peace to Tachibana. By the way, the first question of this interview you should say is, my manly and beautiful physique. Again, you're pretty much being interviewed as a male stripper. The more cooler and manlier you sound, the better. And the less you bring up your criminal past in an interview, the better chance you have of actually getting a job. In fact, the less criminal history you have, period, the better chance of you getting a job. that's all there is to it. Next up is say I don't look back on the past. Dude, so long as you don't mention about you being a Yakuza debt collector going to jail, you're good. So saying I don't look back on the past makes it look like he's got a mysterious aura to him. And Kiryu could basically make up things on the fly. I mean, his time in the Yakuza allowed him to do that.
Oh.
It looks like while he has a troubled past, he's got a bad boy persona. And this is what actually attracts Tachibana. Now, you gotta remember the name of the interviewer. Bro. That's one thing that is important. And since it's already been highlighted, Tachibana is the name of the interviewer. And the reason why I say R.I.P. Tachibana, the Tachibana in Yakuza 0. That's all you need to know. Poor man got slumbered. So, with that said, we will basically be done with the interview. And those are the right answers in order for you to later on get a stamina spark, which is again one of the best it's one of the best healing items aside from a stamina emperor, which you'll get from Bob. Still, it's one of the side quests that'll give you something really good. And Kano would once again get himself caught in a situation. He thought that he found himself a hooker. Unfortunately, he fell for the old Yakuza wife being a hooker routine, which, by the way, sometimes the Yakuza's family are not involved in the family business, but for the ones that are, they will use deception and will use any sort of connivery just to get into the pockets of innocent people to help their husbands. Or worse, if they're like a Yakuza family, a literal family that happens to be a part of the Yakuza, like brothers, sisters, or aunts, uncles, or cousins, they will use whatever means necessary to help the male family members by any means. And Kano fell for that. Kano is not the brightest bulb in the entirety of the Christmas tree. So, yeah. Again, let me reiterate, in Yakuza 1, if you don't take your time in finding out where Kano is, because most of those subquests are actually timed, Kano will wind up dead on the street. So yeah, there are also some sub-stories in this game that did not appear, Mezuki being one of them. And before we actually continue with that, we're gonna go on ahead and pick a fight with these goons. Because after all, them over there beating up ladies is not cool. And by the way, the more you beat up these goons, the more chances you might get getting a rare item, or probably getting a low quality item, or low quality rare item. And just beating up people with motorcycles. Yep, that is how Kiryu cleaned the streets. Not only of trash, like leftover bikes, but trash like people who tend to jump people. And I got a toughness like. Now then, this is the start of another side story. And this side story is in the original game. And yeah, this is a weird one in and of itself. This sub-story is you having to look for this lady's purse. You can help her find the purse, but at the same vein, she is actually a very, very deceptive young lady. You'll find out in the next part, because on the way to finding said purse, well, I happened to run into another group of punks. Of course, like I said, I was going to do the purse thing tomorrow. So, yeah, among many things. I might as well just go on a huge rush, so that way I could get like 150 enemies beaten by rush. And we're pretty much at the end of this part. But it's basically been more violent and more sub-story. And that's all there is to it. And, of course, beating up these punks will get us something good, hopefully. And what exactly good did I get? A toughness light. God damn it. Oh well, I'll see you all in the next episode of Yakuza Kiwami as we continue Kiryu's Hood Chronicles. This is RP Man 985. Peace out and take care.